Hello, my friends. Eric Feltus here, life coach, speaker, actor, and host of The Great Unbecoming. This is a show about stories of unlearning. What did you let go of in order to become the person you are today? And what did you gain and learn as well? This is a show about letting go of stories that no longer serve us and stepping into our own authenticity. It's about unbecoming what society says you should be and remembering who you are and who you are meant to be. So sit back, relax, and welcome to The Great Unbecoming. Hello, my friends. Eric Feltus back with another episode of The Great Unbecoming, and I am so delighted to introduce my guest, and I believe this is the first guest that I'm having on the podcast that I went to college with. Ariel Lauryn, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing so well. I'm so happy to be here.
Yay. I'm so happy that you're here. Y'all, Ariel and I have been friends since freshman year of college. We won't say how long that is. But a little bit about Ariel. Ariel Lauryn is a theater maker, teacher, and writer based out of NYC. She has performed off Broadway, on camera, nationally and internationally, with and without puppets. Oh my gosh. Just wait to hear. We need to go into some of your puppet work too. Currently, she is working on a series of essays inspired by what she has wanted to share with students in her time as a college professor. Lessons that were above and beyond the daily curriculum, lessons that, frankly, are inappropriate for a teacher to say in class. You can hear more about Ariel at www.ariellauren.com. I'll put that in the show notes, but Lauryn is Lauryn. When I was a teacher, the number of things, Ariel, that I said that were inappropriate for students to hear, we don't need to talk about. Ariel, before we start, can I just read a client testimonial that I got that I'm very excited about?
Yes.
So this client has wished to be anonymous, but I've been working with him for a little while. He is about to join my ongoing leadership program as well. And he goes, hi, he texted me, he goes, hi, Eric. Working with you one-on-one has been amazing. An unexpected gift has been the shame-free community I am now a part of. You and the rest of the guys get me, and I feel like I found my tribe. Some of the guys are becoming dear friends, and between you and them, I don't feel alone anymore. I now have a tribe who has my back. I can't tell you how much that changes the game for me. It's really hard for me to talk about my clients without getting emotional because I love them so much. And I think, and you knew me in college. One thing that I love about what we do is I think it really gives me what I didn't have growing up and what I didn't have as a closeted gay boy. So hearing people work on themselves and learn how to love themselves and recognize that their queerness is a gift to be celebrated and not a burden to be tolerated or to be hated or to be cut out of their life. It's healing for me and for little Eric, for the Eric that you knew growing up in college, confused and lonely and scared. So I just love what I do. And I'm so glad that you've been a part of my journey, Ariel. And I feel like you have, talk about community, you've always been a part of my community since day one of knowing you. And you've always seen and loved me, even the ugly parts that I didn't see and love about myself. So thank you. Thank you for being a part of my journey, Ariel.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for the work that you do. I'm really glad I got to hear that testimony because it's so important to me. Community is so important to me, and not feeling alone is so important to me, and feeling seen and loved for exactly everything is
Mm,
so, it sounds trite. It
yeah.
sounds, but yeah, it's so important. And so I think the work that you're doing is just wonderful and so valuable and beautiful. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. I
Mhm.
appreciate that. So, and you know, this is so, uh, ties in so much to what we're talking about in your life. So y'all, if you're joining us, we oftentimes talk about stories of unbecoming, of unlearning that which no longer serves us. And Ariel is going to share with us her journey on loving her body as and because of her body is, right? Just like I have learned to love all pieces of me inside and out. So I want to start with how did we meet? We met in college, freshman year of college, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
We really got to know each other. We both did theater together, and we really got to know each other when we traveled abroad. I think is that right? I mean, we were close before that, but I think we got like really close when we were studying abroad.
Well, it's funny. I mean, the story I think that I remember between the two of us about how we became really good friends is I remember being on the plane with you and we sat next to each other, and
And y'all,
we had
we went to Argentina, Buenos Aires. That's where we studied abroad together.
so it was a long plane ride, and we got to the question of is it possible to be truly honest with someone and still be friends with them?
Mm.
And we meant everything. Like, can you truly tell someone that you don't like what they're wearing, but to even deeper stuff than that. And we decided that we were friends, but not so close of friends that it would be awful if we lost each other as friends. And so we decided to do the experiment of, let's try to be completely honest with each other about everything and see if we're still friends at the end of it.
I'm getting nervous.
And we knew that this was going to be either end in disaster or end in us being really close. We knew it was going to be one or the other, but we were
Yeah.
willing to take the risk. And I think that's where we really opened up to each other about who we really were and what our true dark, deepest fears were, and
Yeah.
the things that we thought were ugly about us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there? I can't remember though. Was it because I probably blocked it out? Did we ever go over the edge of like being too honest with each
We
other?
did. We did.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. I remember we got into a fight. I forget what it was about, but we were really mad at each other. And we didn't talk for like a day. But, our group while we were studying abroad was with each other every day. So it was hard not to talk to you because I saw you. And I think I forget which one. I think it was me, but I might be just rose-colored glasses for myself. Realized that this was a dumb thing that we were upset about, and that what's really cool is that we're still going to be friends at the end of after all this.
Yeah.
And I think I came and gave you a big hug, and you were like, "What?" Because we were mad at each other. And I was like, "No, no, oh, you're not over it yet. When you're over it, let me know because I'm over it." Yeah. So we did get to a point that it was too much, but
And to be clear, y'all, it's probably not healthy to share every single thing with someone. It's
no,
okay to keep.
I
So
don't
that's what we learned.
I don't recommend this.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So, I talk a lot on this podcast on Instagram with my clients. People know this about me, that the thing I hated about myself that turned into be a big asset to who I am is my queerness. My queerness gives me the gift of empathy. It helps me view the world in a much more colorful and beautiful way, in my opinion. And I love being gay. And the biggest goal for my clients is to get them out of that place of tolerating who they are as a gay, bi, trans, non-binary person, and to really learn how to recognize that it's their superpower and how to love themselves. And for you, and I don't want to say too much, but I know that something that you struggled with, it wasn't necessarily your sexual identity or orientation, but rather your relationship with your body. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if you want to start like before college, you can. If you want, I'd love to hear like what that was like leading up to college. Can you do that?
Yeah. I think I should give some background. So had I had eating disorders when I was young. So I was
Hmm.
diagnosed when I was 13 with anorexia. Um, it actually started when I was about 12. And I didn't see it as anorexia because in my mind, anorexia was not eating, but I had anorexic behavior, which is really restricted eating there was a point it was really restricted, um, all the way. Like it was little things first. First, I cut out food groups, and I cut out fats. Then I cut out sugars. And I just kept whittling it down. But it got to the point that literally all I was eating was carrots.
Hmm.
Um, and in my
You were
mind,
13.
I was 13.
Wow.
Um, and in my mind, I felt like I was finally in control. That's what
Mm.
it was about. It wasn't about necessarily my body. It was related to my body for sure, but it was in my mind, there were just too many things in life and I couldn't control them all, but what I could control is what I consume, and that affects how I look, and that affects how people treat me. So,
mm,
and I was so afraid because I was severely bullied when I was 11, and
mm,
I couldn't figure out why. And the only thing that possibly made sense to me was how I looked. Um,
mm.
so, so I figured if I can control how I look via eating, um, then I could maybe try to control how people treat me.
I
Um,
want to pause. Can I pause you?
yeah.
You just used what we call the if then conditional
Mm,
formula, right? I say this all the time. And it's not just, exclusive or inclusive exclusive to the queer community. It's a very universal concept of believing in a conditional form of love. And this is fitting in versus belonging. If I act this way, then I will be approved of. If I take a girl to the prom, then I will be approved of. But if I'm too feminine, then I will get beat up in the locker room, right? As a gay boy, right? And so we put on these masks of perfectionism to try to look
mm,
and act perfectly in order to be approved of, as opposed to
exactly.
belonging, which is feeling seen, safe, and celebrated
Mm,
as and because of who we are. So for you, it was if I act and look this way, then I will receive love, but I am not worthy of love until that happens, right?
that's exactly it. The word perfectionism is key for
Hmm.
um, my relationship to my body, for my relationship to the world,
Hmm.
for my relationship to myself. I think I had this fear in me from this awful time in sixth grade that I was like, and I didn't know why it happened or why I was bullied. So it could be so many different factors, right? And so I was like, I'm going to try to control everything that I can, make it perfect. And that meant what I can control is my body, how it looks.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
can control my grades. And so I was overcompensating with my grades. I had to be 101%. 100
Hmm.
wasn't, like, so so that meant I couldn't go out. Yeah, anyway, so it affected more than just my body and my eating
And I want to
habits.
say, because I know you, um, grades were something that we talked about a lot, and I think that was so profound. Because in college, you'd say like I was always a good student. It doesn't mean that I was smart. It means that
Right.
I knew what teachers wanted from me. I was able to perform and give them what they wanted in order to get the grades that would make me approved of and look perfect. Right? Fascinating.
Yeah. 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 I'm so glad you said that because that was a big part of my illness too, was this performance.
Mm,
I knew how to perform to get the A. I knew how to perform to get people to treat me a certain way. I
sure,
thought.
sure.
So,
Which we
and
find out later, we're never perfect, so it's
right.
never enough. So you're
Yeah.
just reinstating this idea that I'm never enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So then at 13, I was finally diagnosed because I had this stuff. Well, a lot of things were happening. I was losing my hair. I lost my period. Um, and I was turning orange because I was
Hmm.
eating only carrots. And so I finally had this intestinal problem. And when the doctors took all my vitals, they were like, "Oh, you're anorexic." So then I had to go to a doctor, and that meant this was devastating to me. First of all, because it meant something was wrong with me, and it was my
Hmm.
fault. So I'm not perfect anymore, and I'm making mom really sad. Mom's crying because of me, so that's my fault.
Hmm.
Um, and now I have to go to the doctor, which means something is continually wrong. Also, that's taking time away from homework, and that's hurting my grades. I thought. Um, and this doctor is telling me that everything I do is wrong. Everything about my worldview in terms of fats and sugars and carrot, like all the food. So everything was wrong about me again. So I had confirmation that everything
Hmm.
was wrong. So then I was overwhelmed and I just got mad and I got sad and I went the opposite direction and I overate and
Hmm.
I would binge. So then my eating disorder morphed into overcompulsive eating. Um, and I would binge, but I wouldn't purge. So that means that I would just eat to the point that either I would get sick, or I'd eat to the point that I couldn't move. I could only fall asleep. But the point was to eat to the point of pain, because I was punishing myself.
Yeah.
Um, and so naturally, I started to gain a lot of weight. Um, so by the time you met me in college, I was at my heaviest. And along with that, before I gained weight too, I I hid my body with my clothing. So I wore really
Mm-hmm.
baggy clothing. I wore my dad's old shirts. I didn't deserve to have new clothes. This is how there was already this self-loathing before any weight came on, and I think that and I know this is your podcast is unbecoming about what did I learn, and I'm not sure where I learned this self-hatred. Um, I thought about that for a while, and I guess it was the bullying is the clearest indication, but and it also
And
society
I
like
want to say it doesn't matter, right? And this is why we call it the unbecoming, not the becoming, because it's not about where you were. It's about what you shed and let go of. There is one module in my program called Questioning Beliefs, but that's deep into the program. I don't throw this at them on day one. It's where we really dig into those thoughts and those beliefs that are holding us back. And we dig into how we learn the origin story from them. It is helpful to know that because in knowing that, you can then dislodge it and recognize, oh, it's not truth.
right,
So it's good to know eventually, like where we learn these things. And through my own process, I have memories that I can get into in later episodes of getting bullied and having these memories in my adult life of popping up like, oh, that's right, I was bullied at this time, or oh, that's right, I had food thrown at me in the locker room in high school, things that I blocked out that were like, oh, okay, I gotta fit back in this box, right? Um, so is it helpful to know the origin, Ariel? I think it is. Is it necessary? No. I think it's
right,
important for us to be kind to ourselves along the way and recognize those answers will come when we're ready to hear them.
yes,
If we ever are, but it's more important to learn how to unbecome them regardless of their origin. If that makes
yeah.
sense.
I I very much agree with you that you don't put pressure on yourself to figure out when something happened, because that can be it's possible you never find out. But what
Right.
matters is what is holding you back right now, right? So
Right.
anyway, I the point is I lived a long time with a lot of self-loathing, and yeah, and so, but I was pretty low when you met me, and I was hiding myself in terms of not just like the clothing I would wear, and I wouldn't, I wasn't taking care of myself like hygienically either. Like I was, but my goal was to be invisible. I didn't want to be so messy that people would be like repulsed by me. So I kept myself clean enough, but not done up ever. Not
Mm.
because part of the reason, and you mentioned this a little bit, but part of the reason is I couldn't even look in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much I hated myself. Like I couldn't even check that there's nothing in my teeth. Like that was even hard for me
Wow.
because I didn't want to catch a glimpse of myself because I was so repulsed. Um, and yeah, so the I reached a point, and I forget this was after Argentina, because I was yeah I was open with you about how much I hated my body, how much and that I would binge,
I
there was all
remember that day. I remember we were in
yeah
Argentina. We were at a cafe, sitting across from each other. I mentioned that I probably used the words homosexual tendencies because that's what I would say to kind of avoid accountability for my authenticity, because that's something I can cut off from myself, having tendencies, right, as
mhm,
opposed to simply being.
right.
Um, and you saw me and you received it, and you told me that you hated your body. It wasn't that simple, but do you remember that day?
I don't
I,
remember what
I very clearly remember that conversation.
yeah
Yeah.
I remember generally um, that you had a lot of shame around your feelings about men. Um, and yeah, I just remember wanting to, yeah, I just wanted to hold you. It's just like, I just want to hold you. Like I knew that you were really, really beating yourself up about just fantasizing about men, and I just remember just being, yeah. Anyway, we could talk more, but yeah, I just that's what I remember as I
And I
was.
remember, I remember seeing you and be like, "Why don't you love your body? Like, what? Why?" And, we were naive, 20 years
Right.
old, right? But also, I'm sure everyone else felt the same way about you. Like you were such a light, and I don't think many people at that time knew what you were really struggling with.
Yeah.
Just like I do think a lot of people knew that I was gay. Just like I think people probably could see that you were overweight, right? Like it's a visible thing you can see about someone, for better or for worse, a very neutral experience, right? People
Right.
just like being gay, they probably a lot of people were like, yeah, I knew, but I don't think they knew that I hated myself for it.
Right.
I don't think they knew that your weight was a manifestation of
Mhm.
how you felt about yourself. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think it's like there's it's I don't know how this relates to queerness, but like it's possible to I just want to acknowledge it's possible to have
Please,
any size body, like
please,
any size
yes,
body at all, and love it absolutely.
please,
Um,
yes.
like it doesn't matter what size you are, and or why you've gained weight or why you haven't, why you've lost weight. Like that doesn't matter. What's important is the how I felt about myself and my body.
I want to be clear. Thank you for saying that. And this is not a body shaming statement. I think my
Right.
intention is to say that they didn't understand that the reason you were was because just like, you can see someone that works out 6 days, 7 days, 12 times a week and think they have a very physically fit body, but they're doing it because they hate themselves.
Right.
It's not about what your body looks like, is my point. It's about the intention behind why your body looks like that. If
Yeah.
that makes sense. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah. And
So my
so,
point is like for both of us, I don't think they knew how much we hated ourselves.
right. Yeah. About, yeah, hated ourselves for things shouldn't, that aren't hateful.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not hateful, intrinsic, like they're just, yeah. So anyway, when it comes to my, like, sometimes, like it's just a little bit after, Argentina, I don't know what it was that clicked for me, but I remember getting so tired of hating myself. Like I, there was, I think there was an event in college called Love Your Body.
Yeah.
And,
Photo
and it was,
shoot.
yeah, and it was a photo shoot. And I remember just really, so I journal and I remember journaling, just like really contemplating this concept of loving your body and how abhorrent that was to me, that like the like the thought that I could love my body was so, it was almost rude. I felt like it was rude for
Yeah,
like,
yeah, 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 yeah.
how dare you tell me to love this, like this is how much I hated my body. It was like, how could you
Yeah.
possibly, and I also want to acknowledge our relationship with our bodies is so complicated. It's so nuanced. Like, because our bodies, I think when I think about my mom too, who struggled a lot with her body, not just with how it looks, but she's sick, and she's had Lyme disease and fibromyalgia and cancer and like all these things. And so one's relationship to your body is so rich and nuanced, because in my mom's body, her her body is can be seen as the enemy. It's,
Mm,
it's the thing that's causing her pain.
mm,
She feels pain because of her body, and so I think about that, and I was not physically ill. Like I was mentally ill, but I was not physically ill. But for some reason I had made my body the enemy. I had made my body the source of my hatred, my rage, and my confusion, and so for someone to tell me to love my body was like, you're telling me to love everything that's terrible in my life.
yeah.
Like everything, like my body is, for what I had consolidated it to make it simple for me. of like all the mysteries of life, all the confusions, all the doubts, all the fears. I had put it all in my body. And so I blamed my body for everything that was wrong with my life. So now someone's telling me to take that thing that everyone that is the source of everything and love it. Um,
It's
and
also telling you that you're wrong to feel
it
what you
tells me
feel.
that
Like
I'm wrong.
this is
Yeah,
you're right about saying that this is very nuanced. Like, of course, like love your body is a very positive message, but it's similar to saying like if you're like I'm sad today and I go, "Oh, don't be sad." Well, thank you so
exactly.
much. You're telling me
Yes,
basically that I'm wrong to feel sad as opposed to how can I help?
yes,
What's making you feel this way right now? Like, is
yes,
that thought true? Who would you be without that thought? Right? Like, well, how do you treat yourself when you believe that thought? I mean, these are I'm taking Byron Katie's questions and we're putting thoughts on trial right now, but all of those questions don't fit on a bumper sticker. They don't fit on a poster you put in a college, that says, love your body, come to this event. So I'm not blaming the phrase love your body, but you're right. Nuance is the word for it. So
yeah.
you were
You're
offended because you're like, F you, this is how I feel. Don't tell me that I'm wrong.
yeah,
You don't know me.
yeah, yeah. You're exactly right. That's exactly it. And so while I was journaling, I was circling around this question, and then I asked myself. I was like, okay, all right. So they have said a lot of things, right? They've said
Mm.
things like, calories in, calories out, and they have said things like cut sugars, and but I was like, okay, so there's this other thing they say, and that thing is you have to love your body before you can lose weight was a phrase at the time.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, all right. Well, that's impossible. Like that's off the table. And I said, okay, well, why is that off the table? And for the first time, I was able to say without any ifs, ands, or buts, I was able to say, I hate my body.
Hmm.
And I never allowed myself to say that because that's a depressing thing to say, because it's negative,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like all these, it's pathetic. Yeah, there are all these judgments I had over being honest with myself about hating. And I also didn't want to be a person who hated their bodies. But then I was like, but then I said it, and I was just like, that's just it. I hate it. Like, and it felt so good to be honest, like you were just saying. It felt so good to finally be honest with myself. Like, okay, great, and this is a starting place. Like, it sucks, but it's a starting place.
I love that you said that because this is the first step of the program too, is noting the beliefs holding you back. Toxic positivity is saying, don't worry, be happy. Is
Right.
basically saying you're wrong to feel that way. If you ignore how you feel, that's like putting a band aid on cancer. You have to find the cancer and
Mm-hmm.
describe and really see it
Yep.
before you can change that belief. Through neuroscience, we can change the belief from I hate my body to I love my body. But if you never find that thought that's holding you back, that belief that's holding you back, the fact that you in your early 20s knew this, I mean, came to that conclusion of F it, I'm just going to say it, is so admirable, Ariel.
Oh,
It takes a
thank you.
lot of courage to put words to that thought, especially when you've been trained your whole life. I have to be perfect. I can't hate any piece about me. You're being honest with yourself. So, I mean, I think I'm so glad you're saying this because that's such a universal process, whether it's your body, your sexuality, etc., to learning how to love who you are as and because of who you are, to be able to note the belief. So thank you for that. It's a really good lesson.
Yeah. No, thanks for pointing it out. Yeah. So yes, I hate my body. I was like, great. This is a starting place. First, it feels great to be honest with
Mm.
myself. Um, and I can start here. So let's see. Currently hate my body. Okay, fine. So now what? Is there anything about my body that I maybe acknowledge, like that I like? And I was like, I like my hair. Okay, all right. I like my hair.
You got gray hair.
Great. Anything else? No. Okay.
Okay.
I like my brain. I like my brain. Like, okay, great. That's it. Fine. Well, what's maybe a smaller step than that? We're going from love to like, is there a smaller step than that that's somewhere between hate and like?
Because you
And
couldn't even look at yourself in the mirror yet,
I couldn't
right?
even look in the
Still.
mirror.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
I couldn't even look in the mirror. So I was like, is there somewhere between like and hate? And I was like, well, I can acknowledge that I have a body.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah, I can acknowledge that I have a body. I'm acknowledging. So how do I do that? How do I act on? So I tried to make it more active. Like, how can I act on acknowledging that I have a body? And I was like, well, I can look at it, and I look down. Nope, nope, nope. Too soon. Too soon. I can't look
Hmm.
at it. I looked at my
Hmm.
thighs, and they were huge, and I hated them. I was like, nope, nope. So okay, is there something that I can do that's not looking at my body? And I was like, well, I can feel it. So how can I feel it? I can feel it by breathing. I can feel it by my chest expand when I breathe.
Mm.
I can, and so then this now I'm off my journaling, but I started incorporating. I started asking that question throughout the day. How can I acknowledge that I have a body without looking at it? And then I started to feel like, when I'm walking across campus, I would feel my feet on the floor, and I would feel
Mm.
like, what's the difference between walking on cement versus walking on grass?
Mm.
Like, it had to be super tiny. It had to be that small, and and then I like, oh, what does it feel like to have a cup of hot water, like hot tea or hot coffee in my hands? How
Mm.
does that feel? And I focus on just like, because you can't feel without a body. And
Mm.
I think about what it's like to see things. I like, not my body, but I can see other things. And how does
Mm.
that feel when I see a puppy? How does it feel when I see my friends? How does it? So I started using my senses, and it took a while, but I started to enjoy having a body. I
Mm.
started to enjoy the like the feeling of a warm cup of coffee. I started to enjoy walking, and I started to enjoy walking so much that I would walk more. And then I started, walking more often. And then so really, what I want to impart to people, the journey that I took, was finding ways to enjoy my body and then, yeah. And then I started, I mean, it took a long time. I'm telling you, it took years. I could even say decades before I was able to say that I love my body. Um,
Mm.
I could, because it, but I started to be able to look at it again, ever so slowly. I started to be able to enjoy, maybe sometimes looking at my eyes, maybe not my whole body, but maybe my eyes, maybe my teeth. Like, just little by little, I started to like looking at it, and then I started to like being in it, and I started to like my
Yeah.
body. And
Mm.
now, finally, I mean, it's been, 10, however many years it's been since college. Um, the journey started then, and now I can say I love my body.
Mm. There's so many things I want to say. A
Yeah.
couple things that are in my head. One, and I'd love your thoughts on this. I think
Mhm.
and granted, this was such a long time ago, but I think this belief that you must love your body before you can work on your body is complete bullshit.
Yes.
I think you can do both simultaneously. I think that that's just as damaging as it is to say you must fully love yourself before you get into a relationship. I think
Yes.
that they can happen simultaneously. In my own experience, sometimes being in a relationship brings up some old trauma that's unresolved that wouldn't have been brought up if I wasn't in the relationship with that person. So they can happen simultaneously. It sounds
Okay.
like you wouldn't have been able to go on those walks, start to shed some of those pounds, have a healthier life inside and out if you did not do them simultaneously. Right? Is that a fair
Yeah.
thing to say? Okay. So
Yeah.
that's
I
thing one.
think.
Because I think it would be so overwhelming. You're like, well, I'm never going to love my body, so then I'm never going to do it. You're
Right.
setting the bar so high and impossible to reach.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
That being said, I also want to say that love is not a feeling, love is an
Hmm.
action.
Hmm.
So asking yourself curious questions like, can I do this? Nope, I can't do that. And then not judging yourself for it is an act of love. So I guess conversely, you were loving your body because you were asking, what do I have the capacity for?
Yes.
I'm kind of contradicting myself right now. It is very nuanced, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Love is not a feeling. Love is an action. So say, I love that you met yourself with curiosity because judgment is the antidote to connection. So if you say, I can look at my thighs. Nope, I can't look at my thighs. Stupid Ariel, dumb. Like, I'm never going to do this. Well, then
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't have because you would have reinforced the idea that you can never do this. As opposed to, I'm going to look at my thighs. Nope, I can't do that. Okay, all right. Curious, what can I do right now? Well, this feels good. Follow that curiosity, follow the joy, and you've gotten to a place where loving becomes almost unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me if this resonates with you. There are 4 steps of learning. The first one is being unconsciously incompetent. You don't know what you don't know. The second one is being consciously competent. You know what you don't know. So you might see bodies and compare yourself to other people and be like, oop, I know that I don't love myself like they do. That could be uncomfortable. The third step, and it looks like you were there for a while, was consciously competent, which is really putting in the effort and the conscious thought. What can I do actively to love myself? Until years later, it became unconsciously competent. I'm not saying your life is perfect or you always love yourself. Of course, we don't. But does that resonate with you in your journey of loving your body?
Yeah. I mean, I really, what really I want to point out is your comment on judgment. I think, I think part of curiosity is letting go of judgment. And it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to not judge things because we think if we are able to name them and call them a thing and say this is good or bad, that we're able to control them.
Mm,
But I don't think that's true. So for me to be able to say I hate my body and not judge myself for it,
yeah.
or being able to look at my thighs and go, oh, I hate, I can't look at those. Those are repulsive. And I'm judging my thighs, but I'm not judging the thought. I'm like, okay, my
Hmm.
thought, that is my thought. That is legit. That is how I feel. That's it. And I'm not, because that's the second arrow, right? In Buddhism, they talk
Mm.
about the first arrow and the second arrow. The first arrow is whatever the upsetting event is.
AKA,
Um,
I hate my thighs.
aka I hate my thighs. That thought was um, is the first arrow. The second
Hmm.
arrow would be judging that thought,
Hmm.
putting judgment on that thought, saying like I'm pathetic for thinking that, or I'm awful, or I'm never gonna get anywhere, or I'm judging that second. So just letting it be the first arrow of like, oh, I hate my thighs. Okay,
That's how I feel.
so that's how. So now it's so if you're able to just really assess where you are and just go, okay, this is it. This is where I am right now. Right now. Everything
Yeah.
changes, fluxes always. And so then and I also want to emphasize the little tiniest baby steps. Like they're gonna feel so insignificant, and that's good because then they're doable.
Hmm.
It's gonna feel so stupid to go like, all right, I'm walking and I'm feeling my feet on the floor. It feels like it's not gonna do anything.
Mm.
But it's bringing awareness to the present moment. It's experiencing your body in a new way,
Hmm.
and that's you're talking about neuroplasticity. Like we're trying to create new channels, rewire our brains. And so that means we're going to have to think thoughts in a different way than we
Hmm.
normally think them. So if you've never thought before about how your feet are different on cement than they are on grass, and that means you're rewired. You're doing it. You're
Yeah.
thinking a new way.
And that is that third stage of consciously competent. You are consciously thinking about your feet hitting the pavement. 95% of our thoughts are subconscious, 95% of them. So by bringing them to the conscious, you're consciously learning how to actively love yourself until it becomes like breathing.
Right.
If I may, what is it like looking in the mirror now for you?
Oh my gosh. It's I could I could cry because I love it. It's only like I mean it's not roses. It's not like it's but I love looking at myself. I enjoy seeing my wrinkles.
Mm,
like I enjoy seeing my dimples. Like I'm like, oh wow, this is where you are now, and this is just what you look like. It's just what you look like. It's not. I mean, I could put a name on it. I could put good, bad, and then that's the thing is I have the freedom now. I have the freedom to choose whether I want to feel like I look good or not, as opposed to
mm,
before it was a compulsive like hatred.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So
Oh,
now it's just with tenderness. Like my weight fluctuates. I'm getting gray hairs. Like all the things that happen with our bodies. But I see it as more with tenderness than I
mm.
do any repulsion.
Well, I'm so grateful for your story, and I'm so grateful that we've been in each other's lives and gave each other acts of love before we were able to give ourselves those
Yeah.
same acts of love. I'm
Yeah.
grateful for you, and I'm grateful for your story.
Oh, thank you so much. And I'm so grateful for you, and I'm grateful for what you're doing in the world. It's so wonderful. I feel just so honored to have you as a friend and get to call you a friend.
Yeah. Um, you gave your website, ariellauren.com, ArielLauryn.com. Is there a contact button there? Like if someone hears a story and they're like, that's great, but I just need a little help or I would love to connect with Ariel, is that okay? And how can they connect with you?
Yeah, I think yeah, there should be a contact me. If not, my email is my full name that you just spelled out,
Hmm.
ArielLauryn at Gmail. I'd be very happy to chat with anyone.
Amazing. Ariel, thank you so much. Y'all, thank you for listening to another episode of The Great Unbecoming. If this story resonated with you, if you are a gay, bi, trans person who identifies as male and you want to learn how to love yourself more inside and out, or if my client testimonial at the top of the show spoke to you and you want to learn how you too can feel as if you're worthy of that community, which you are, then reach out to me. I'd love to give you an application to fill out an application for a discovery call. You can email me, Eric at lifecoachingbyfeltus.com, Instagram DM me, Eric Feltus, or go to www.lifecoachingbyfeltus.com. And we will see you next time. Thanks, Ariel.
Thank you so much.
Bye.